Yesterday we went through and we found the Riemann sum for the left. Now we're going to see what happens for the right. Last time we started with -1. So it's a summation from n is 1 to 4. F of t sub k delta x sub k. All that's going to be f of 0 on this one. Because if we go back to the right sums, this was, I'm just going to say this is your -1 right here, right? On the left sum, you use -1, you use 0, you use the 1, the 3/2, and the 2, right? But for the right sum, do I use the -1? Is that the corner point for my rectangle? Which one is? The next one, which is 0. Yeah, this one, you're going to, for the left, you use the first ones. For the right, you use the last ones. You're going to use the middle. The difference between 0 and 1 is 1. Plus, then it's going to be f of 1 times, what's the difference between, oops, I did it wrong. What's the difference between these two? The difference between these two is 1. Then I go, this one's 1. Difference between the ones before it is 1. Plus f of 3/2. The difference of the ones before it is half. Plus, and then the last one's f of 2. And the difference between these two are 1/2. And all I do is go through and find every single one. Let's see, 0 squared 0 times 1 is 0. 1 squared 1 times 1 is 1. 3/2 squared, we said, was 9/4 times by a half gave me 9/8. F of 2. 2 squared 4, half of 4 is 2. I add up 0, 1, 9/8, and 2, and I get, let's see, 3, 4, and 1/8, so it's 33/8. That's what the right sum is. You can use your calculator to add these up. This one was 21/8, this one's 33/8. They're not the same. They're approximations. Now for the midpoint one. Are you okay with the right? Are you okay with what numbers to start at and how to find the difference? For the midpoint one, you're taking the midpoint of these 2 points. So I'm going to take the first 2. What's the midpoint between the first 2? -1/2. And the difference between these 2 is 1. -1 plus 0 is -1, cut in half is -1/2. Plus, now I do the next 2. Yeah, I just didn't put it. I wanted to save space, sorry. The difference between 0 and 1 is 1, cut in half, and I get half. You want to find the midpoint. You're finding the midpoint between these pairings and the distance between them. So that one's 1 plus the next pairing. So 1 plus 1.5 gets me 2.5. Cut it in half, and I get 5/4. And the difference here is a half plus here's my last grouping. I mean, you can always use calculator. 3 halves, whoops, clear. 3 halves plus 2, cut it in half, math, enter. 7/4. So it's f of 7/4. And the distance is a half. The midpoint one's the one where you have to do the most little work in order to find out the points. Now I go through and find every single one. So I have negative 1/2 squared, which gets me 1/4 times 1 is 1/4. Plus 1/2 squared is 1/4 times 1 is 1/4. 5/4 squared is 25/16 times by half is 25 32nds. 7/4 squared is 49/16. Cut or times by half, I get 49 32nds. You can do all of this on a calculator. Even though sometimes it takes longer. (45/16). So those are my 3 sums. None of them are exactly right. All 3 of them are approximations. Now, this one was approximately 2.8125. 33 divided by 8. This one's about 4.125. And 21 over 8 is 2.625. Which one, looking at it, looks like it's probably the best one? Which one? Left? Left, you have gap, 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 about right. This one over little, see, this one's little pretty much everywhere. I can't say which one's exactly right yet. But that's all we're doing right now for Riemann sums. Questions? What's that? Kind of here. Yeah, we're going to do another one. What do you mean, draw these? No, you're not going to have to draw the bars. No, there's not going to be. The bars were just to help you visualize where the points are coming from. Let me... I'll just take the easy one. F of x is 2x. It's partitioned from -1 to 3. Find the left, right, and middle sums. We're just using the whole numbers from -1 to 3. Actually, I'll even make it -1 to 2 to make it a little bit shorter. Yeah, -1, 0, 1, 2. Those are your numbers. Find the Riemann sum. Yeah, you need the E thing. You can just do n equals 1. There are 3 to 3, and 2x. All right, let's go over just to show you. For any sigma notation, all right, for the left, the right, and the middle, or the midpoint. For the left, I start with the left point. So I'm going to have f of -1 times by, what's the difference between all of these? 1. So there, it's just all times 1, so that's fine. Plus f of 0 times 1, plus f of 1 times 1. -1 times 2 is -2. 0 times anything, 0. 1 times 2 is 2. -2, 0, and 2, 0. For the right sums. Now, if you want to do the right ones from the right, that's fine also. If you want to work backwards, you can. And just miss out the first one. But whenever I do the right, I disregard the first one and go f of 0 plus f of 1 plus f of 2. Why did I not put the other number there? It's all 1s. F of 0's 0. F of 1's 1. F of 2's, wait, that's 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. Now the midpoints. The midpoint between these two is -1/2. The midpoint between these two is 1/2, and the midpoint between these two is 1/2. So this one's going to be -1. This one's 1. This one's 1. -1, 1, 1 is 1. Questions? Okay, that's the end for this section.
How did you get the last one?
What do you mean the last one? The last one half? What's the difference between these two? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I know it's actually mine's mistake. Why? You add it and divide by 2. I forgot to add it and divide by 2. And it's not 1/2. I forgot to write the 1.5, which is 3/2, which gives me 3, which gives my answer is 3. I made a mistake. See, good thing you asked. I just went, I looked, I subtracted instead of added.